We are here for the FCS playoffs. First round and second round game times announced here. So here we are. So we have first round, we have the FCS playoffs are going to end in Frisco, Texas. Instead of the FCS, they don't do a conference championship game in week 12. They don't for 12th game there. For in week 13 they don't do conference championships. They do them, just based off the regular season and like tiebreakers, so that like NFL does, for divisions. But anyways, we have Gardner-Webb taking on Mercer here. Gardner-Webb is playing at 3 p.m. Eastern time here. In this game, every game is on ESPN Plus, by the way. Gardner-Webb is 7-4. They're taking an 8-3 Mercer squad here. At 5 Eastern, 4 Central, we have Duquesne taking Youngstown State. The winner of that is taking on number 8 Villanova at noon Eastern on the second here. And we have 2 7-4 teams here that just snuck in there. We have another bottom of the bracket. We have NC Central. NC Central is 9-2. Usually HBCU schools like SWAC.
Welcome in. We're 24.
SWAC and MEAC schools and Ivy League schools, they don't get in. Ivies, they usually don't. Ivies don't compete. But SWAC and MEAC, they play in the Celebration Bowl. The winners doing the SWAC. The top 2 teams in SWAC playing in the. So you'd have the 3 really, really good teams in the SWAC, because the SWAC plays a traditional championship game, but the MEAC does not. So the winner goes to Celebration Bowl. The MEAC. NC Central was good enough when they weren't the winner of the MEAC, and they go play in the FCS playoffs with Richmond, who are 8-3 at 2 Eastern and ESPN on Saturday, 25th. You have Nichols taking on Southern. Nichols is 6-4. They snuck in just barely. They could have played against Northwestern State, and been 7-4, but they got their bye. They play against number 4 Idaho. Just snuck in NC Central Richmond by the winner of number 5 U Albany. That's at noon Eastern, ESPN Plus in the second. And 10 Eastern, ESPN Plus, they play against Idaho. And then we go to the top left of the bracket, top right of the bracket. There's Sacramento State is taking on North Dakota. Sacramento State and North Dakota play at 1 Eastern on Saturday. Sacramento State is in a loaded FCS, Big Sky Conference. They're in a loaded conference. And they did beat FBS team Stanford this year, I believe. Stanford's struggling this year. Being a Pac-12, last year Pac-12 school. Next year is their first year ACC school. And then North Dakota played FBS Boise State, so yeah, some of these FBS teams, if you play an FBS team, it doesn't necessarily count. Necessarily, but it helps you though a lot. If you beat an FBS, if you lose, it doesn't really hurt you too much. We have number 6. They're playing number 3 South Dakota State by 2 Eastern on the 2nd, and on the 25th at 3 Eastern, and on the 2nd at 3 Eastern. The winner plays Montana State 3 Eastern on the 2nd. The Drake and North Dakota State. Drake is 8-3. Well, North Dakota State is 8-3 as well. So both teams are pretty solid here. We have number 7 Furman. They had a big loss, to Wofford, who was struggling this year. But they ended up dropping from number 2 overall. They're predicted to number 7 overall. They play at 1 Eastern in the 2nd. And they play the winner of Chattanooga, Austin P. at 1 Eastern. Or 3 Eastern, my bad. Chattanooga's 8-7-2, SP's 9-2. Or Chattanooga's 7-4, SP's 9-2. And the number 2 Montana plays the second at Eastern. They play the winner of Lafayette and Delaware. So both those teams are really solid teams. So it's gonna be interesting, see who wins that one at 2 Eastern. On ESPN Plus. Also, we'll see here. We could make it to the FCS playoff, though. Gardner-Webb Mercer. I would say Gardner-Webb or Mercer's the better team than Gardner-Webb. Definitely. I would definitely say Youngstown's better than Skeen. NC Central being in a really good HBCU usually, teams don't make it. So NC Central, I think, could make it pretty far in the FCS playoffs. Beat Richmond in Nichols. I don't know. Southern White is in the Missouri Live Football Conference. So I think there's a tough conference. So I think they could get in and play Idaho. We have Sacramento State and North Dakota. Sacramento State is good in the Big Sky, but again, North Dakota, both teams playing at a stat conference. I think North Dakota could win just because they're at home. Drake, North Dakota State. I actually think Drake could upset North Dakota State. They played in the Summit League. This year's with Summit League teams in there. And I think it was the Summit Football League, was it? Or is it what league was it called? I can't remember, but they have different names in FCS rather than the traditional conference teams. Yeah. Because every FCS team has a football school. Has football. But, yeah, so Drake. I think Drake could upset North Dakota State, because North Dakota State has been struggling this season a little bit. We'll see, though. When we have Chattanooga is 7-4, SCP 9-2. I just don't see. I see Furman, or SCP playing Furman. Montana now. It's taking Delaware. Like the bomb says, I do agree that Delaware can beat Lafayette. Delaware is playing in a really stacked CAA conference. There's a bunch of teams who are 7 really, really solid conference. In a 3-way tie. And Delaware is really solid. They would get into that large. They're a really solid team. Really solid, South Dakota State should be Mercer in the second round of my predictions. Villanova should be Youngstown. But, Youngstown could pull off the upset, but I think Villanova, just because they're home, they are going to win. Just get the little home advantage. Then we have UAlbany. Probably could lose. I could see them losing NC Central, NC Central is a really good squad. And I think they can prove, why they belong in the FCS playoffs, Like I said before, HBCUs normally play, the SWAC. They normally play in the, they normally play in the Celebration Bowl, because they play a traditional FCS championship game. Like a conference championship game, like FBS schools do. They play a traditional conference championship game. And with them playing a traditional conference championship game, it really limits, the top 3 then schools, would have to make, have to be a school, the 3 schools that would be really, really solid, for ones who have to make it the FCS, but, the top, only the top in all of the conference making it, it's gonna be interest, NC Central does have a good shot, Just because they lost that one time in conference to Howard, that's what sent back. But they're still solid, though, team. And Southern Illinois, I know should be Southern Illinois. They're really, really dominant, school. I know it was in Southern playing Nichols 6-4 at 7-4. I mean, they're good. Both those schools are good, but it's not. It's gonna be like a dogfight, to make it a second. But I think they're gonna make it kind of destroying that second round. Then we have my predictions in the quarterfinals, which we played on the 8th and 9th. This is when the quarterfinals are gonna start on ESPN, ESPN2, ESPNU for TV tips. And I'm kind of surprised, that ESPN2, like the first round, I get that because there's FBS news going on. Unless for some fluke there'd be like a way late night game on like the West Coast, which there isn't, In fact, none of the games are on the West Coast really. So yeah, I can see that, Why, but but the second round games, they could have the games in ESPN2. I mean, they could have the FCS playoffs, some of them on ESPN News. Like a few of them, they could have like 3 of them sprout during the day, on ESPN News, One at like 11, maybe one at 2:30, one at 6. On the Central Time, but noon, 3:30, and 7 Eastern. And same with the FBS playoffs, you could have for one game on ESPN2 at before the SWAC Championship. Then you could have the SWAC Championship even. And then you could have ESPN2 having game 2, another game afterwards. And then in the case of like Idaho or, Montana, you could have a game 3. And then you could have game 4, you could have literally 4, possibly 4 on ESPN, You could have one at like noon, 3. We could have one at noon, 3:30, 7, maybe even 10:30. We could have one at noon, 3, 6, and 9, or something, or noon, like 3:15 Eastern, maybe 6:30 Eastern, maybe 9:45 Eastern even. We could have something like that, too. And then you could have one on ESPN News. Or maybe you could have a couple on ESPN News, maybe, Because, in the second, I know there's, UFC on ESPN main card, and then there's, like, lacrosse again, and there's a couple basketball matches. There's space in between one and the second. One at 4 Eastern, one's, from 4 to 6 Eastern, no basketball game. For some reason, they didn't get, from 5 to 7 East, 6 to 8 Eastern, they got a game. So I don't know, So I'm surprised, The first round, maybe not, but the second round, they could. But I know that ESPN is going to show quarterfinals. And, the quarterfinals are going to show the quarterfinal action on the 8th and 9th. And then, there's one going to be on the 15th. And there's one going to be on the 16th. And then the championship game is going to be on the 7th. At 2 Eastern, so on the ABC. That means there'll probably be a college basketball game on at like noon to 2 Eastern on the 7th, I'm guessing. I'm guessing there will be on ABC, and then there will be a football game on from like 2 Eastern to about 5 Eastern, maybe even like 5:30 Eastern. And then ABC, goes into having like like goes into having like an NHL game, because they always have NHL at night in series, or NBA or something like that, Saturday nights. You know, because now with both having both, you know what I mean. So yeah. So we'll see here. But anyways, I predict, like I said, South Dakota is going to play Villanova in the quarterfinal, and I probably see South Dakota State winning that one. South Dakota State is 11-0. South Dakota State is undefeated, and they're really dominant. You know, they played the good teams like Youngstown, you know, and really good Missouri Valley football conference. Like they played North Dakota, North Dakota State. They're playing dominant schools, and they won. South Dakota, like they played really tough schools, and they won them. You know. Also, South Dakota, Montana State. South Dakota is really good school. You know. But they have a couple losses. So does Montana State, you know. Montana State has 2 losses, I believe, in the year. No, 3. Well, South Dakota has 2, so. I don't know. South Dakota could actually lose. But I don't know. Just because, South Dakota has a little bit less losses. They play in a little bit tougher conference. Like, they play South Dakota State. They play Youngstown. They play North Dakota State. They play North Dakota. They literally played 4. There's literally 4 teams here in the bracket that they played, you know, in conference. You know, they're in the conference. So, they're really dominant, you know, so I'm not surprised by that. Furman, you know, especially if Furman's lost to Wofford, I think Montana has it more in there. But, you know, Furman could shock Montana, you know. Furman could. Furman's still a really good football school. But it's going to be tough, you know, to beat Montana. But I'd say Montana just barely edges Furman. Barely, though. But I think they do it. Okay, so then the semis. Here we have South Dakota State taking on Idaho. Now, I think South Dakota State's playing at home again. And they are a solid football team. Very, very solid football team. I don't see how there's any way they can lose a game this season, maybe. Especially playing at home. They are just absolutely solid team. You know, I just don't see nothing. Nothing that gets in South Dakota State's way. So I think it's going to be South Dakota winning. Now, could Montana play South Dakota State? South Dakota? Absolutely. Could Furman play South Dakota? Absolutely, you know. There could even be a rematch in the rivalry. If South Dakota was to play South Dakota State in their rivalry in Frisco, Texas for a championship, it would be Furman. It would be the championship game. If Montana State was to play the rival Montana, if Montana State upsetting South Dakota in the court, upsetting South Dakota, possibly in the course, or playing in second row State North Dakota somehow without upset South Dakota, Montana State could make it to the quarter. Make it to semis. That's the only way Montana State and Montana, the rivalry matchup, would play again in the quarter. You know, North Dakota State could play North Dakota, obviously, but that would have to happen in quarter. In Montana State with the Cups, and so would South Dakota, you know. But there could be some rivalries, you know. And and Furman and Chattanooga, they're both in the SoCon, in the Southern. So Chattanooga could be S&P if they play S&P, you know. They're both, you know. So we'll see, you know. Yeah, this is gonna be very interesting, you know. But I think, South Dakota could beat this is gonna be very interesting. Montana, you should have that loss to Montana State though, in the rivalry, so they can falter a little bit, in big games. The Canadians still thought they were number 2 overall, so they're really good, even though despite their losses, With 3 losses, they're still really good, or 1 loss. Or was that Montana State? They got the 6th and lost. 3, maybe, yeah. But still, Montana State. Montana's still a really good football school. Only 1 loss this season. They're a really good school, but the South Dakota, who, I don't know. South Dakota has been Montana. It's gonna be close, like very close. But I think South Dakota could squeak out, just barely. Furman, they play Furman. Yeah, it wouldn't be as tough of a game. I think if they play Furman. And then we have the championship game. We have it could be South Dakota State, South Dakota rivalry. I'm thinking South Dakota wins. Because, man, South Dakota State wins this. South Dakota State is that dominant in the FCS that I shouldn't see who's stopping them, they're in a very, very tough, one of the toughest conferences in all of FCS football. The Missouri Valley Football Conference is one of the most dominant leagues in FCS. There's also the CA, which is really solid with Albany. You got Delaware. You got Villanova. You have the Big Sky of Montana State, Idaho, South Dakota State, or Montana State, Idaho, Montana State, second row State, and then you got North Dakota State, North Dakota, South Dakota State out of the Missouri Valley, as well as Youngstown. So you got a bunch of teams out of like different similar conferences. So I could see South Dakota State, South Dakota playing ABC for the championship game, and I think South Dakota State's gonna win that one if those 2 teams play, because those 2 teams are extremely, extremely dominant. But you'll have to see again who makes it to each round and wins each round, because man, this FCS playoffs is going to be very, very dominant. And I will mention who, the FCS first round games on YouTube here. I will, because I'm going to do FCS scores for week 13 live, or in videos on YouTube. I will do that, so I'm obviously not going to show the games because of copyright. But, I will, just talk about the scores and, in the first round of FCS playoffs, as well as the non-FCS game. It is the Southern Conference Bell, or, SWAC Bell, should say, not Southern. I know I'm thinking Southern, but a SWAC Bell between Southern and Grambling. Here is that bell right down there. In the SWAC, big, huge SWAC rally. It's shown on NBC at 2 Eastern. So I'm gonna mention. I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna also talk about that one, but mainly it's the FCS playoffs that I'm gonna focus on for the FCS, and then the FBS. Let me talk about. But I will do FCS, games. Probably 2 videos of FCS, probably, because the first video I'll probably do. I'll probably talk about some of the FCS that's going on right now. after the first wave of FBS, probably in the middle of the second wave of FBS a little bit, and then maybe the first little bit of FCS will be done, and then there'll be some and then there'll be second. You might be the second wave of some more FCS games, and there might still be a third video where you do screenings on the season over, and it goes into the third video. But yeah, but I'm gonna be watching the FCS playoffs on Saturday. I definitely will be watching the FCS playoffs because my team, Wisconsin, or my team is in Wisconsin. They're Minnesota Gophers, and they're 5-6 in FBS right now. They have to win in order to get into an FBS bowl game. They have to win in, and there'll be 2 6-6 teams playing a low-ranked bowl game. They'll be playing like a low-ranked, like 6-6 team in a bowl. I mean, obviously you want to get into a bowl game. Obviously, because it helps recruiting out. Definitely helps recruiting out. You know, if you can make it to bowl, even like low-level recruits. Low-level like recruits are the best recruits in Power 5. That, you know, but are Power 5 capable, you know, or Power Conference capable, like ACC, SCC, Big 12, Big 10, you know. You'll get some, you won't get the bottom of the barrel recruits. That'll be safer, but Power Conference teams, you know, that didn't make it to bowl or are new to Power Conference. But, like SMU is. But, you'll be getting at least the bottom of the barrel Power Conference recruits, you know. The team that won the bowl game, you know, went to a bowl game last year, so, the season before, so that doesn't help out. But man, I'm gonna be watching FCS playoffs more so because, man, that is really, you know, fun. You know, FCS playoffs is the best time of year in the FCS. You know, it's the best time of year. You know, another game is an ESPN Plus. The first round, second round, third round, the quarterfinal round is when the games start going to ESPN for TV, ESPN 2. And then it is FCS Science and ESPN 2, I believe, and the final championship is at EBC.